Hello, Honors Chem students. I hope this video finds you doing well. So far, I think you've been doing great. It seems like most of you are mastering the concept. And again, those that have questions, you can always feel free to contact me, through email or when we get into Google Hangouts. The next area we got to cover on stoichiometry is problems that involve limiting reactants. So as I've been saying all along, a chemical equation in stoichiometry, it's just like cooking. So to explain the concept of limiting reactants, which is usually an area that causes some difficulty for students, I thought we'd go back and make a real simple example again. And here it is. So let's say you have a recipe for making a sandwich. I know it's a chintzy sandwich, but it'll make the point. So we take 2 slices of bread and 1 slice of bologna. We're going to make 1 sandwich. We're given the information that 1 loaf of bread contains 16 slices and a pound of bologna contains 12 slices. Well, this is like stoichiometry because we are given the bread and the bologna in terms of loaves and pounds. And our equation is only good for slices. So the first step we're going to have to convert is we got to convert the loaves of bread to slices of bread, and we're going to convert the pounds of bologna to slices of bologna. So down here I'm showing you mathematically, for every 2 loaves of bread, we're going to have 16 slices per loaf. So we're going to have 32 slices of bread available. And then the recipe says for every 1 sandwich, we need 2 slices of bread. So just focusing on the bread, we have enough bread to make 16 sandwiches. The question is, though, are we going to be able to make 16 sandwiches? Because we also have to take into account the amount of bologna. So if we look at it, they tell us that we have 2 pounds of bologna. Well, how many slices of bologna do we have? So we go down here and I'm showing the conversion for every 2 pounds of bologna. 1 pound has 12 slices. So we have 24 slices of bologna. And since it's a 1-to-1 ratio up here in our equation, we can make 24 sandwiches. The question is, how many sandwiches are we going to make? Well, if you have enough bread to make 16 and you have enough bologna to make 24 sandwiches, well, you probably figured out by now, we're not going to make 24 sandwiches. We're going to run out of bread. We only have enough bread to make 16 sandwiches. So in this chemical reaction, we're going to actually end up making 16 sandwiches. There is enough bread to make 16 sandwiches, and there's enough bologna to make 24 sandwiches. The bread is what is called the limiting reactant because the bread is limiting the amount of sandwiches that can be made, and there'll be some bologna left over. The amount of sandwiches that can be made according to the recipe is 16. This is what limiting reactants is all about. So now we got to put this in terms of chemistry. In terms of chemistry, the limiting reactant is defined as the reactant in a chemical reaction that limits the amount of product that can be formed. The reaction will stop when all limiting reactant is consumed. So if you're making sandwiches and you run out of bread, after you make 16 sandwiches, your supply of bread is gone. So bread is a limiting reactant. In the example I gave, there's bologna left over. So bologna would be called the excess reactant. The reactant in a chemical equation that remains when a reaction stops, when the limiting reactant is completely consumed, the excess reactant remains because there's nothing with which it can react with. That pretty much is an explanation of what limiting reactants are all about. Now they're also going to ask us to solve for the amount of bologna that is left over. So that becomes the next step in this problem. So if we go ahead and look at the next question, how much of the excess ingredient will remain? Well, from our previous work, we know we have 32 slices of bread. We had 2 loaves. We converted it, 1 loaf equals 16 slices. So we have 32 slices of bread. Now we must calculate how many slices of bologna are needed to react with the 32 slices of bread. So you might want to jot this down. I suggest you pause the video and write this little phrase down here. This is the part that many people get confused about or they forget. To solve for the amount of excess that is needed, you should set up a ratio between the limiting reactant, in this case bread, and the excess, in this case bologna, to determine the amount of bologna that is needed. So we have 32 slices of bread. For every 2 slices of bread, we need 1 slice of bologna. The 2-to-1 ratio came from our recipe or equation. So if you do the math, in order to make or use up 32 slices of bread, we need 16 slices of bologna. So the amount of bologna that's needed to make 16 sandwiches is 16 slices. The question was, how much of the excess is going to remain? Well, you probably already know, you've done this in your head, but I just want to show you mathematically. From our previous work, we know we have 24 slices of bologna available to us. The calculation we just went over indicates we need 16 slices of bologna to react to 32 slices of bread. Once all the bread is consumed, we don't need any more bologna. We just need 16 slices. So to show this mathematically, if we have 24 slices of bologna available and we only need 16 slices for the reaction, then we will have 8 slices of bologna or the excess reactant left over. That is a quick introduction to stoichiometry involving limiting reactants, and my hope is to let you relax a little bit and realize it doesn't have to be any more complicated than this right here. The only difference is in chemistry. We're not going to be given loaves and pounds. Usually you're going to be given grams. Now in this example, our recipe is only good for slices. In chemistry, our recipe is only good for moles. So we always have to express everything in terms of moles. So this is part 1 of how to do a limiting reactant problem in stoichiometry.